All right, so this video is just going to finish up talking about physical development across the lifespan. And so we've covered elasticity, and so the rest of these will not take as long to talk about. Elasticity is just a very big conversation. You remember what myelin was, hopefully, from back in our biology chapter earlier in the semester. The myelin is that fatty substance that surrounds the axons of some neurons to speed up transmission so that messages just go faster if there's myelin. And this is especially true for motor neurons that send messages to make muscle move. And when we're born, we have very little myelin present. So babies have kind of spastic movements where they, move suddenly and startle because they don't have smooth, quick motor movement. Motor messages. And it's not until we start moving through infancy that we start developing myelin. Interestingly, breast milk seems to promote the production of myelin, but even babies who are formula fed will produce adequate myelin. And myelin continues to develop, and we continue to get better at fast messages to our muscles, and therefore the observable thing is we get better and better at moving muscle in smooth and predictable ways across early childhood. So think about, the ability to catch a ball, the ability to run, all the things that 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, and even 3-year-olds look clunky when they're doing. That clunkiness is in part at least about not having sufficient myelin. But our myelination process is largely complete by age 5. And we may get a little bit more myelin production in the school years after that. But mostly it's steady state until we age. And then starting in old age, we do get some decrease in myelination. And that means that our reaction times, for example, aren't as fast. So when elderly people are moving more slowly or driving more slowly, that is in large part connected to the fact that there's an implicit awareness on their part that it's going to take longer to hit the brake if something happens. And so we do get that slower reaction time and that decrease in myelination as we age. That's just kind of something that most of us can expect to have happen. And then another thing to talk about that is going to just echo conversations we had in the memory chapter is that explicit memory is going to be affected here. We'll talk about that more in the cognitive videos, but our hippocampus matures around 3 to 4 years of age, and so that is a kind of important brain milestone at that point. It happens once and then it's done, and so we don't need to talk about that over the lifespan, but that is one thing that's happening in early childhood. In the school years, one important thing that's happening is our corpus callosum matures. Remember, our corpus callosum is that bundle of nerves that connects the two hemispheres of your brain. Remember watching about the man who had it severed. That corpus callosum isn't mature until sometime during the school years. And that means that before the school years, before age 6 or 7, we don't have good coordination between our right and left hemispheres. And that's easiest they're communicating, just not as well. And that's easiest to watch in terms, again, of muscle movement. So think about how the clunkiness of clapping hands in small children, or how hard it might be to dribble a soccer ball on your knees back and forth really quickly. One of the things I always like to point out is that I think children's games that happen at different ages often reflect the newest ability or the newest skill that has kind of matured at that age. And so often I think those games are kind of celebratory in their own way. And so think about kind of the clapping games that you might have played, or double dutch that you might have played during the school years, that a lot of those games in some ways can be seen as a celebration that the corpus callosum is mature, and now my left and right side can really coordinate well and do things well. We do see sports happening in a very different way in the school years, and a lot of that is also about the corpus callosum and the coordination that comes with that. So the other thing that we can see here is adolescence. And there's a lot that happens in adolescence. But if you want to understand the emotional life of teenagers, I think the best way of understanding that is about the timing of the maturation of the limbic system and the frontal lobe and how they relate to each other. So the limbic system, if you remember from chapter 2, the biology chapter, is about raw emotion. And that matures fully online for early adolescence. So if you're 14 years old, Your limbic system is coming fully online. It means you're experiencing your emotions, your fear and anger emotions, your kind of emotional reactions, including sexual interest, in full force when you're 14 or so. But your frontal lobe, that's going to help you in decision making and impulse control and moderating emotional reactions and down, kind of quieting them, turning the volume down on them. That's not going to come online, as you hopefully remember. That's not going to be fully mature until late adolescence for young women and early adulthood for young men. And all of that is in response to pubertal timing. And so if you are an early bloomer, it'll happen earlier for you, and a late bloomer, it'll happen later for you. But what that means is we have a period of years when raw emotion is fully in force, and right, so the gas pedal is fully in force, and the frontal lobe, the brakes, is not in force. And so think about high school. Think about how often you saw somebody crying in the hallways. Think about, kind of the inability to moderate emotion. And that's what we get when we have a mature limbic system and an immature frontal lobe. So we're going to stop here with this video. We can talk more about these things in class, obviously, and we'll go from there. The next videos will be about cognitive development and then about social development.